All right, EXPs, what's good? It is Jay, your experiential marketing coach. And tonight I wanted to come on and do a very special live video here on Facebook and on my YouTube channel. Make sure you guys go subscribe, Jay Davis Experience, to just talk to you guys, to get a pulse, to see how you guys are doing. As we all know, with the recent coronavirus, it has shut down our industry. It has shut down the way in which we are able to survive as EXPs. A lot of our events have been canceled, not just in the coming weeks, but in the coming months. So rather than keep talking about the issue, rather than keep discussing the negative parts of it, I wanted to come on and be a beacon of light and be positive and just talk about all the great things that EXPs are doing, in our industry and in the EXP elite group to help each other, to build each other up, and to stay positive and to work together during this crisis that we're having in our industry. I'm confident that it's going to bounce back, but with all things, it's going to take time. So I just want to continue to encourage all of you to stay positive, to continue to source multiple streams of income, and to take this time to really, refocus and pivot in a lot of ways. All right. So I threw the post out there about an hour ago. I also gave EXPs the opportunity to come on and shed light on their experiences and what they're going through, and any tips or advice that they have for other EXPs who are experiencing the same issues that we all are. So I had Michelle actually reach out to me, and I'm going to bring her on in a second here to just talk about her experiences and shed light and offer any advice to us EXPs. All right. So let me go and add her on. So welcome, Michelle. Thank you for taking the time to tune in and just talk about your experiences and your cancellations, or just how this is affecting you. So let's just start by letting everybody know who you are, what city you're based out of, and how long you've been working in the experiential marketing industry.
Okay, so my name's Michelle. I'm doing events in the Boston, Massachusetts area, and I've been doing events for about 5 years.
All right. And experience. So have you done brand ambassador? Like, name some of the programs and some of the positions you've been able to hold in the industry.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of like trade shows and larger events. I haven't done as much of like the demos and samplings. I've kind of always like steered more towards like longer events, ones that are like at least 3 days. But yeah, typically a lot of just like longer events. I've done a lot of the trade shows in the Boston area. But as I've done it for more years, I've become like more flexible with what I want to try out too.
Mm-hmm. And what do you enjoy about working as an EXP?
I think the fact that I'm like extremely social, so it's like fun for me because I'm like the furthest thing from an introvert, which is why like this whole experience is going to be really interesting being stuck inside. So I think that's like the main thing that I like about it is just like being able to talk to people all the time, because I did work in the restaurant industry for 10 years, from age 15 to 25. And I found this while I was doing restaurant work, and I kind of transitioned more into this because I did like that it was still like consumer facing, but it wasn't exactly the same as restaurant stuff. Like I liked it better.
So you've been in the industry for 5 years. How long have you been full-time, like a full-time EXP, not having another job, and just depending only on the events that you book?
So basically I've weaved this into my schedule a lot, like on and off, but I had a job that was seasonal over the summer and it ended on Labor Day. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll just pick up a few BA gigs and then kind of just see where it goes. And then I accidentally ended up doing it full time for the last 6 months because I just kept getting booked for stuff like constantly. Even the slow months, I was completely booked. So I kind of just kept rolling with it.
Okay. And you've been able for the past 6 months to make it your full-time career, which is awesome. A lot of EXPs want to get to that and aspire to get to that level. But let's go ahead and play devil's advocate and talk about this recent, what has happened in our industry with the coronavirus affecting so many events, so many EXPs' opportunity to make money and pay bills. How have you been affected by this crisis?
Yeah. So, I mean, it definitely has. So, I actually had one of my busiest months in February, which is interesting. I worked like the most in February that I have in like a long time. And I was actually doing that to plan for a trip to California, which I'm not going anymore. I was supposed to see Post Malone. The show got canceled, all of that. So it did benefit me because I have like a lot of income coming in from the previous month, but obviously it is impacting me because I'm like, okay, how do I find something in the meantime? How do I find something to kind of move forward during this? I actually have been, I had a virtual interview with just like a recruiter from a regular staffing agency that is working on trying to place people in like remote, like work from home roles currently right now. I guess they had a meeting this afternoon and they were looking to see what's open. So I've been emailing just a ton of like regular staffing agencies looking for like remote work, work from home, like pretty much like anything that I can do right now. But obviously, yeah, it's still impacting me, even though I did work a lot in February. Like we don't know how long this is going to go on for. So
And did you have programs booked out in advance that have been canceled?
I mainly had booked out just this month because I was going to be going away at the end of the month. So I actually was supposed to work the Boston Flower Show and I actually canceled on them because I didn't feel comfortable going. Like I forfeited the money and I was like, I don't feel comfortable going. And they just canceled the show today, anyways, like mid show. So it was supposed to be a 5-day event and they shut it down today. But the state of emergency for Massachusetts had been released as of like right before the show started. So it's like Tuesday night, we went into a state of emergency, but the flower show decided to still go on. And most of the demographic of people that go to the flower show are much older.
Yeah.
So I just really did not like it wasn't even worth the money. I was like, I've been taking this week to like stock up on groceries and like prepare. I've gone to Barnes and Noble like twice and I've gotten like coloring books, regular books.
Just preparing for it because a lot of people, a lot of EXPs didn't see it getting this bad. You know, we saw, okay, maybe they'll cancel this month, this week, or the next couple weeks. But the fact that events have been canceled all the way out as far as May, you know, has impacted so many EXPs and agencies as well. So
Yeah.
it's really hitting hard. And a lot of us have plans, you know, we don't want to go back to a 9 to 5, but it looks like a lot of EXPs are having to explore that option because we just don't know, you know, how long this is going to last. So do you have plans to go back to a 9 to 5 if this continues, or are you looking at, you know, besides the virtual thing, other ways to make income from home until everything, you know, settles down?
Yeah. I mean, the way this worked out, which is just kind of something similar that happened when I was kind of like transitioning out of the restaurant industry, I was already, before this even happened, looking into like, I actually have been working with staffing agencies since January to try to get a full-time role. And I already was interested in just I still want to do brand ambassador work, just not as my primary source of income. So for me, this worked out because I already was thinking about this. Like, this was even back in September. I was like, oh, I'll just do, some BA gigs, but I didn't plan on like making it a full-time thing. And it's great that it can be full-time sometimes, but I was already thinking about looking for something else. And I've been like, even in February when I was super busy, it's like on some of my breaks at the trade shows, I was like taking calls from the other recruiters about like office jobs, and it got pretty crazy. But I'm not sure if anyone like in this group might have attended it today, but there was like this virtual meeting, and I had found it, I think it was through this page or one of the other pages, but it was like 4 of the people from like either agency owners or something like that. They were like the panelists, and I listened in on that, and it was pretty interesting. They had like more information about what they think is going to happen with the event industry in the next couple months.
Oh man. So I
Yeah.
didn't watch it. What was something that they said that popped out to you that kind of made you that you remember?
Well, the things that specifically that were like the most interesting was one of the things they mentioned was, well, first of all, that they think that for at least the next 3 months, events are going to be completely down. Like that's like at minimum. So a lot of them were mentioning that like although they want to be hopeful. Like one of the guys that owns an agency was like, "Oh yeah, we're planning on resuming stuff in April," but the other three were like, "No, like it's definitely going to be at least 3 months."
Yeah.
So we're looking at like 3 months out of even working events, but also they had mentioned something about like this is a way for us to look into the future and basically saying that in the future at some point there might be like some type of like virtual like brand ambassador work where we're like holding conferences and stuff like literally all online,
Wow.
which could be crazy because like one of the agency owners is like, well, we're all about like face-to-face interactions, but like maybe this is something that we're looking at because of everything we're going through, because although it is great to have people like in person having interactions, like there could be instances even outside of this that maybe it makes more sense to do something like virtual.
Mhm.
So that was pretty interesting too, because like it's hard to like picture that actually like coming into play.
Yeah, it is like trying to interact with the consumer this way versus in person. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of agency owners did talk about, possibly in the future putting like a law or something in effect where if this happens, EXPs can be paid, or even their staff can, get paid. I know a lot of people have been, and I posted the petition in the group earlier, but have been wanting to, create a petition where, the event marketing industry, can submit something to the president where we could, get compensated or get financial aid to assist with, everything that everyone has lost financially over
Yeah.
the past couple of weeks. So that was good too. But I'm gonna let you go in a few minutes. I'm not gonna keep you much longer. Couple more questions.
Yeah.
Um, what advice do you have for EXPs right now who are going through this, who feel like they don't know how to pivot or redirect, and find another way to bring in income? Like, what have you learned from this?
I mean, I would say like because I've been reading a lot of the comments on like a lot of these brand ambassador pages, and I did read this one comment that somebody posted that was like, if you guys aren't like using this time to like get ahead or to realize like maybe we shouldn't be putting all our eggs in one basket, and which this is stuff that a lot of us did know prior. And I
Mhm.
think by working a ton of brand ambassador gigs, we do think that we're like using multiple avenues for income, but it's still all within one industry.
Yeah.
So I feel like when you have multiple jobs that have nothing to do with, this like if you have brand ambassador stuff, that's great, but you could do something else that has nothing to do with the event industry. And even if it was like 10 hours a week, that still would be helpful in a time like this. So I think like basically based on his comment, he was telling everyone like this should be a time that you should take to like refocus what you want to do and think about like having more avenues of income in the future and not just
Mhm.
relying on like one industry. Because it is like, especially during like when it gets really busy, like busy season, it's like easy
Uh-oh. We lost her for a minute. She'll be back, hopefully. But EXP's Michelle's been dropping some great gems about the importance of
to just
diversity.
do burn about.
Oh, oh, she's back. Okay, go back. Oh, your mic you went mute for a minute. She'll be back in a minute. But she's been dropping some great gems. She's been dropping some great gems about um she's been dropping some great gems about the importance of diversifying, and just shedding light on what she heard today from agency owners. So um, that's important for us to talk about. And I'm glad that she took the time tonight to join us in a few minutes. Hopefully, she'll be back on and she'll finish up that conversation. And then I'm going to shed light on a couple of things too. Oh, hold on. Let me see. Oh, hold on. Give me 1 second, EXPs. All right. There you go. Okay. All right. I don't know what happened.
I can't hear you now.
You can't hear me?
I don't know what's happening with this like thing. It just stopped working all of a sudden.
Oh man. I was, but as you were saying,
Okay, so I don't know what just happened, but this whole thing froze and now we couldn't hear each other, but I'm just going to continue with what I was saying. So basically that comment that he made really resonated with me because, you know, it is true. We should have multiple different ways to make income, or we should at least have it in the back of our head. Like, okay, if this doesn't pan out, I have something else to fall back on instead of just doing brand ambassador work. So I think this is a good time for everyone to like, even like put in job applications for other jobs. And even if it doesn't pan out right now, like people are still going to be looking at these applications either from home or when all of this ends. So I think it's a good time to just really look at your other options and still know that the brand ambassador work is going to pick up at some point.
mm-hmm. And I agree with that.
Let's see.
It may take a while, but definitely continue to find different ways and multiple ways to supplement income, but also just stay hopeful, guys. I know that things are going to pan out. So I got one more question for Michelle, and then I'm going to let her go. So, favorite event you've ever executed?
Okay, so one of my favorite events that I've executed. So, I mean, it's hard to say because I feel like I've done so many at this point. It's really hard to choose. I feel like one of the ones that I really liked was like when I first started doing this type of work. It was like back in 2015. I did the Volvo Ocean Race in Newport, Rhode Island, and we were working for like this shipping container company.
Oh no!
Oh wait, it's working again.
Yay!
Again. It keeps like muting by itself.
That's
Now
weird.
now I can hear you. So
Okay,
we were
the
working
Volvo.
with this shipping container company that actually like the whole village was set up by like shipping containers. So like the whole setup, which was really cool. So there were all these different like all the individual footprints of the different companies all were made from like shipping containers, but it was just like a really like cool setup, and it was one of like the bigger events. And I think because I had just started doing this type of work, I like thought it was super exciting, and I feel like that was probably like one of my favorite ones just because that was like I had found a few brand ambassador gigs prior to that that were very like smaller scale. So that was like kind of more of like my like bigger introduction to this type of work.
Okay. And what did you learn as, you know, one of your first events as a brand ambassador? Like what is one thing that you learned that you take with you at every event now?
I mean, I don't know if I learned it right away, but I think at some point I learned like sometimes it's like the littlest things that make a huge difference. Like even just like, I mean, I actually commute from like an hour away to get into like a lot of my gigs. And like, I'm not perfect. I'm not always on time, but I have noticed that like even just being on time, like just showing up and being there and like not causing that stressor to either like the team lead or the client or whoever's on site, because like as soon as you don't show up, like even if you're 5 minutes late, they might think, is she even coming, like, you know what I mean? So I
Mhm.
think like the littlest things, like even just like being on time or like maintaining like a professional interaction with like if they reach out to you, like even with a text being like, hey, we're excited to have you on the event tomorrow, this and that, like keeping in mind that like you're texting the client, you know, like structure it the way you would structure like a professional email. And like I feel like little things like that have been like things that I've learned as I've gone on, or like if there's opportunities to like thank them or, you know, just kind of a little bit go the extra mile versus like just working the event, I guess.
Mhm. That's good advice. You dropping some gems, girl. That's good advice because a lot of times EXPs take that for granted. And we just did a pop-up interview with Miles and Shameen, and we talked about entitlement, you know,
Yeah.
BA coming on site and being unprofessional or not seeing the importance of doing the little things. So I appreciate you shedding light on that, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day, out of your night to, come on and just talk about your experiences.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Why is it to talk
It keeps just muting itself for no reason.
technology? But nonetheless, hang in there. Continue to work your side hustles, and just know I'm confident that things are going to get better. It may be 3 months out, but our industry is going to turn around. So thank you for taking your time, for being honest, for being transparent with us tonight. And EXPs, I hope you guys listen to these gems Michelle dropped tonight. But nonetheless, I'm going to let Michelle go. And I just want to say I appreciate you, girl. All right.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Be safe.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right. So as we continue this. All right. So as we continue this quick discussion tonight, as I stated before, I just want to continue to encourage all my EXPs. I know this is a tough time. I know that we as a whole, are going through some things right now, but continue to stay positive, continue to pivot, as I stated before. And I talk a lot about pivoting and diversifying and finding different ways to supplement income and create alternate streams of income. Michelle brought up a great point in the fact that, if you haven't or you weren't thinking about it prior to this happening, it's time to always, have a plan B, C, D, and possibly E, for events or just in case things like this happen, in the future, which I hope it doesn't. But before I go, I definitely want to shout out the EXPs. I definitely want to shout out the EXP Elite community. Over the past couple of days, we've had an influx of EXPs not only join the group, but EXPs take time to shed light on their experiences, to provide advice, to provide resources, and to take the time to just comment and be a source of help to all of us in the industry. So one comment or one post that I want to shout out is from Elizabeth, and she brought up a great point in the fact that, as EXPs, we might be looking at the fact that, working in this industry is just one source of income and there's only one way to make money. But as she stated, and I'm pulling it up really quick, let me find it because I want to quote the exact words. I don't know who needs to hear this, but now is the time to write your own book, create your own new channel, new content, learn a new skill. It's been on my mind all day, and I think there's room for every voice on all platforms. We will rise above and exceed our new goals. So special thanks to Elizabeth for taking the time to write that. And a lot of EXPs have been taking the time to comment on that post, but she is absolutely right. If you've been thinking about starting a business, starting a channel, if you love to cook, this might be the time to start your channel or find different ways to turn your passion into profit and into a business. Learn a new skill. Educate yourself, whether that is learning about finances, learning about different ways to invest. Also, the post on keeping record of your cancellations and the fact that it may be a opportunity to write off taxes. Shouts out to all the EXPs who took time to comment there. Tracy Neal provided some great insight and some great feedback for EXPs to definitely take heed and think about as we go into tax season next year with regards to what has happened. I also want to shout out Destiny McKnight, Cast Marketing owner. She started a group, Side Hustlers, which is dedicated to helping EXPs, find side hustles and find different ways to supplement income during this slow period. And I also tagged her group in one of my other posts. So definitely, guys, go check her out. Chrissy Morgan dropped a great graphic in the group today, which talks about different ways to make side income and bring in additional income based on the different industries. So shouts out to her. I also want to shout out the post that I put out today about different stocks and different ways that you can build wealth from a financial in an investment standpoint. Andrew Dickinson dropped some great gems on different stocks and different ways in which you can learn how to invest. A lot of EXPs are now looking at ways in which they can create a stock portfolio, learn about stocks, and acquire and purchase stocks. When we are discussing that, I want to encourage you EXPs to do your own research, to educate yourself on the stock market, on building wealth from an investment standpoint, and do what's going to be feasible for you financially. Don't just go out because, you know, we're posting all of these great stock options in the group and just buy all of these stocks without really vetting and educating yourself on what's going to be best for you, and understanding long term that some of these stocks may be a better option than some others. Understanding that, you know, this stock market is a long-term investment, and it takes time, and it takes you being willing and able to educate yourself and to do the research. This is the best way for you to mitigate your risk and to really understand what you're getting yourself into. So while you have all this free time right now and learning about, if you want to go the avenue of investing in stocks, take the time to learn about the stock market industry, learn about splits, dividends, ETFs, and ways in which you can diversify from that standpoint, and do what's feasible for you financially. You may not be able to buy 100 shares of one stock, but if you could just buy 2, that's fine as well. Start somewhere and do, you know, what is going to make sense for you financially. And I also want to, you know, just talk about when it comes to stocks and investing from that standpoint. If you bought a stock at one price, and then let's just say $80, and then tomorrow it drops down to $50, essentially you are not losing money. You're not losing money, but I also want to point out that you still own that stock. Your equity doesn't leave. At that point in time, you may have lost, you know, $30, but this is why investing in stocks is a long-term gain, because eventually that stock is going to rebound. And even though it's at $50 now, it may go up to $100, and now you've made $20 on the initial stock that you bought for $80. So just understand, you know, when you're looking at stocks, that your money doesn't leave potentially when a stock price drops, because you still have equity. You're still invested in the business. If you have goods, services, products that you use on a day-to-day basis, places that you shop on a day-to-day basis, those may be some of the stocks that you invest in, because for one, you are already a consistent consumer of those products, and obviously you love it because you purchase it. So definitely look at some of those options, look at some of those companies as well. Understand also that wealth is a long-term game, and it takes time to build wealth, and you have to be in it for the long haul. It's not going to be an instant overnight success and an overnight money maker. But as long as you are taking the time to educate yourself, to understand the process that goes into building wealth, then you're going to be able to make sound decisions for your financial future. Also, right now, with what's going on, it's not just affecting our industry, it's affecting the economy as a whole. So if you're looking at purchasing stocks or investing, this is the best time, because a lot of stocks are at deep discounts right now. And as I stated before, you know, if you can't buy large sums of stocks, or you can't buy at the price that it is right now because it may be too high, for example, like the Apple, you know, look at the companies which supply certain products to Apple's. You may not be able to buy Apple stock, but you can look at the company that makes the screens, or makes the batteries, or make parts of, you know, the products that make up Apple products and devices. So those are some avenues and ways in which you can cut that thing, excuse me, and not just have to invest in Apple, but you can invest in the companies that also invest in Apple. Because guess what? Even though you may not be able to purchase Apple is going to continue to work with those companies and keep those companies on payroll, because they are providing goods or services to them. So there's more than one way to skin a cat. Oftentimes, if you can't buy the company, then look at its suppliers and the different companies that are associated with it and look at their stocks. And that might be another way for you to get in and purchase stocks as well. Also, in the grand scheme of things and everything that's going on, I want to, talk about financially, separating your wants from your needs. Oftentimes we spend money on shoes, on clothes, on goods that bring us no return. But learning how to watch and value your money and understand the value of the dollar and how far it can take you is essential. So when you are, especially now with things being tight and really taking the time to penny pinch and budget, also take the time to reassess your budget, your financial goals, and make sure that you are separating your wants from your needs. And a lot of EXPs I know in that post today with regards to stocks, shouts out to Levon. He, talked about marijuana stocks. That may be a good option for a lot of EXPs. Martin also took the time to talk about some stocks as well. But when you're looking at stocks, if you're looking at airline companies or cruises or different travel options, just know with the economy right now and the way that it is, those stocks, if you choose to invest in those, are going to be long-term. They're going to yield long-term results. You're going to yield results in the future, not right now, because they have to bounce back, with all the cancellations, with losing money from that industry. So you may not see a return on airline or cruise line or anything associated with travel companies in the next year or so. But if you are going to invest in those companies, just know that your return is going to be long-term. It may not be for years. So you got to be in it for the long haul if you're looking at those companies. And also, look at companies with the least amount of debt, because that's going to ensure that you're able to benefit when dividends do come out. So those are some things from a stock perspective that I want to keep in mind. I'm going to go ahead and hop off of here, but I want to shout out Jennifer Canali for allowing me to repost that awesome post that she posted in the promo network with regards to supplementing income and ways in which you could do so. And EXPs, thank you so much for commenting with different options that you have taken advantage of and considered as ways in which you can supplement while we go through this time. And I want to also shout out Joaquina Buxton of Atlanta Rockstars. She has been posting a lot of opportunities and a lot of jobs with regards to the Atlanta market. I am based in Atlanta. However, with this group, I post a lot of jobs nationwide and a lot of opportunities which are not just Atlanta based. So for all my EXPs who are in Atlanta or in the Southeast region, definitely join her group, the Atlanta Rockstars. Join Destiny McKnight's group, the Side Hustlers group, so you can stay abreast on not only job opportunities in the Southeast region, but you can find ways in which you can supplement income in the future. I had someone who just commented on the video, and I want to get their name because my service does not show it, but they commented, Tom McNeil, hey Tom, buy low, and then quit looking at it is how I do it. So that's a good strategy too, because if you look at it every day, then you're going to be expecting it. We're talking about stocks, guys. Stock expecting to see an increase. So you have to understand stocks, IRAs, mutual funds, it is a long-term game. All right, guys. So definitely, if you haven't already, share this post. Encourage other EXPs to join the group. We are going to stay positive amidst everything that's going on. And I just want to radiate positive energy. We are going to bounce back. Our industry is going to bounce back. You guys are going to bounce back. I want to encourage you to continue to pursue other streams of avenue, pursue your passions, and continue to work on yourself and use this time as a way to reflect, reconnect with friends and family, and get clear about your purpose and the things that you want to do. Because I'm telling you, once our industry bounce back, opportunities are going to be arising. We're all going to be busy, and we're going to be able to bounce back from what's going on right now. But in the midst of everything, we got to continue to stay positive, continue to lift each other up, and continue to work together. So Thank you guys all for tuning in tonight. Thank you to Michelle for taking the time to come on and talk about her experiences and EXPs. I will talk to you guys later. Remember, in spite of, you are still a brand within a brand. So always represent yourself accordingly. Later.